Another U.S. group called the Catholic Family and Human Rights Institute declared that they admire Vladimir Putin's stance against gay people. The quack group that claims to be able to cure people of being gay, Americans for Truth About Homosexuality, they publicly applauded Vladimir Putin's decision to sign the anti-gay laws, saying he was rejecting, quote, the negative lesson of American homosexual decadence. Also, do you remember the evangelical anti-gay activist Scott Lively? The American guy who pushed in Uganda for the Kill the Gays bill there. He was credited with inspiring the Kill the Gays law. Scott Lively is now suggesting that American conservatives should move to Russia, specifically because of Russia's awesome new anti-gay laws. Ahead of the Russian vote on the anti-gay law that Putin eventually signed, Scott Lively published an open letter to the Russian people where he lauded them for becoming a model pro-family society. He said if they passed those anti-gay laws that they were then considering, quote, I believe people from the West would begin to emigrate to Russia the same way that Russians used to emigrate to the United States and Europe. American conservatives should move to Russia. All hail Vladimir Putin. Anti-gay activists in this country embracing Russia and the KGB's own Vladimir Putin. This has been one of the weirder and more unexpected turns in our own domestic politics this year. But it turns out that the anti-gay part of the American right, those folks were just ahead of their time. Because now a big chunk of the rest of the right in this country has also chosen themselves a new hero, who is fond of riding shirtless on the backs of large mammals. It is not just the far, far, far right anti-gay right anymore. It is the right in general, both in Congress and in the conservative media peanut gallery, who have decided that real Americans should show how much they love our country by maybe moving to Russia. If you love this country, you ought to move to Russia because Vladimir Putin is the kind of strong and decisive leader that we want and that we love here in a totally different country. The role that Vladimir Putin has taken in the diplomatic negotiations over Syria this past week, the big op-ed that he wrote in the New York Times this week, the way he has tried to throw his weight around thus far in this international crisis, it has made the American political right suddenly get very hot to Trotsky about him.
Vladimir Putin is, coming to the diplomatic rescue here.
Putin is riding to President Obama's rescue.
Russia is the player here. It is the big player, not the United States. I think, frankly, in the last week, Vladimir Putin has looked like a statesman.
Instead of a pariah, he's a statesman, he's a partner in peace, and he's in a position where he can lecture the United States of America.
Well, I think, if this were a tennis match, it would be the umpire shouting, advantage Putin.
Putin really has been schooling our president of the United States on how to be a leader, hasn't he?
Vladimir Putin has filled the leadership gap because Obama and your buddy Kerry can't make up their mind.
I don't like Putin, but I respect that guy. He is tough. He delivers what he says he'll deliver. He knows his people. He presents himself as a real he-man, a nastoyashi mujik, but he lives up to it. Our president talks tough, but in the clinch, he's gutless.
There was a moment in the 2008 presidential campaign when the American right got so hot for Sarah Palin that it actually became a little NC-17. Remember there was this writer for the conservative magazine, The National Review, who said that when he saw Sarah Palin in her debate with Joe Biden, she sent starbursts through the TV screen straight at him. Remember that? He said it was so sparkling, it was almost mesmerizing. It sent little starbursts through the screen. It's either something you have or you don't, and man, she's got it. He said, I'm sure I'm not the only male in America who, when Palin dropped her first wink, sat up a little straighter on the couch and said, hey, I think she just winked at me. No, conservative magazine guy, she was not winking at you. And neither is Vladimir Putin taking his shirt off just for you guys at Fox. It's one thing for the right to fall in love with its own politicians, to make Ronald Reagan a saint, to make Sarah Palin their collective fake girlfriend. But the president of Russia, you guys, he is not that into you. Seriously, I know you guys hate President Obama, so it feels good to have a man crush on somebody else, but this guy is the president of Russia. Zip it up, you guys. Seriously, have some respect.